Have you ever been talking to someone and felt like your gaze, I don't know, just sort of gets stuck? Like you're trying to focus, but your eyes keep flicking back to them?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Well, it turns out that's not just like a weird personal quirk. Psychologists actually have a term for it, attentional adhesion. It's this surprising difficulty we sometimes have pulling our attention away from certain people.
Right, there's actual research on that. I think
Yeah.
Derryberry and Reed did some early work, and Fox's team too, looking at how our attention can kind of latch on to things.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, is this just random brain static or is there maybe something more adaptive going on?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because think about those moments, maybe you're in a meeting or trying to have a serious conversation, and
Yeah.
you should be focusing on the task at hand, but your attention just keeps drifting, keeps getting pulled towards someone across the room.
Yeah.
It can be super frustrating.
Totally. Maybe even a bit awkward.
Right. But what if that sort of involuntary reaction is actually telling us something fundamental about our motivations, especially our social drives, maybe even mating goals?
That's exactly what a group of researchers, I think they were at Florida State University, decided to really dig into. They ran 3 different experiments to see if our psychological state around mating, looking for a partner or uh, protecting the relationship we have, actually influences this attentional stickiness.
Ah, okay. So connecting those primal drives to where our eyes land.
Precisely. And here's where it gets really surprising, I think. Their results suggest that when we get stuck looking at someone, it's often tied to these core mating goals. But, and this is the kicker, it's not just about who we find attractive on a surface level.
Hmm. What else then?
It's also tangled up with our own individual relationship strategies and even how worried we are about, well, potential rivals.
Interesting. So it integrates that evolutionary perspective,
Hmm.
the idea that our minds are shaped to solve reproductive challenges.
Right, like the work from people like Buss and Schmidt or Barrett and Kurzban.
Exactly. It integrates that with the social cognitive side, which looks more at the immediate mechanics of perception, how we process social cues right in the moment.
Like Sergison and Bari talked about. Yeah.
This research kind of bridges those two. It shows how these big evolved motivations can actually tweak the very first stages of our attention.
And it's not just about those grand evolutionary themes either. They also looked at how more immediate things, like our current mood or the situation we're in, can interact with those deeper tendencies.
Right, the proximate factors.
Yeah.
Like Kenrick and others pointed out, the context matters.
Definitely. So to really get specific, they focused on 2 main mating motives that, research has shown are pretty crucial. Mate search, basically, the drive to find a partner, and mate guarding that instinct to protect the relationship you're already in.
Okay, mate search and mate guarding. And the core idea is that these different states should make us sticky towards different kinds of people.
That's the hypothesis. If you're in mate search mode, your attention should, theoretically, get snagged by potential partners.
Makes sense. People who fit the bill, evolutionarily speaking.
Whereas if you're feeling more protective, more in that mate guarding mindset.
Then your attention might get caught by potential rivals, people who could threaten the relationship.
Exactly. Okay, so let's unpack that first part, the mate search motive. The researchers figured that if someone's motivated to find a mate, their attention would stick more to physically attractive members of the opposite sex.
Which ties right into evolutionary theories, right? Things like short-term mating strategies or good gene selection. Physical attractiveness isn't just superficial in that view.
Right, it's seen as a kind of signal.
Yeah, a signal of underlying genetic fitness, maybe health, fertility, stuff like that. We see research hinting at this for both men and women, certain features signaling youth and health in women, or maybe resource potential in men.
And they added another layer here, looking at individual differences in something called sociosexual orientation, or SOI.
Ah, the restricted versus unrestricted scale.
Yeah, basically how open someone is to casual sex versus needing more emotional connection first. Simpson and Gangestad described this back in the 90s.
Right.
So the specific prediction was this attentional stickiness to attractive opposite-sex people would be even stronger for those with a more unrestricted orientation, people more open to casual encounters.
That makes sense, too, because previous work, like Manor's research, suggested that unrestricted individuals do tend to prioritize attractiveness more and, well, just generally pay more attention to attractive potential partners.
So if you're kind of primed for mating and you're generally more open to it.
Your attentional system should be hypersensitive to those attractive potential mates. They really capture your focus.
Okay, so study one, how did they test this? They tried to trigger that mate search feeling. One group wrote about a sexually arousing experience,
Okay, a direct arousal prime.
and the control group wrote about a happy memory. Then they did this visual task. You'd see a face pop up, attractive or average, male or female, then a shape would appear quickly, either where the face was or somewhere else.
Ah, the visual cueing task.
Yeah,
Measuring disengagement.
exactly. They measured how long it took you to react to the shape when it appeared in a different spot. The idea being, if you're slower, your attention is still kind of stuck on where the face was, more adhesion.
Right, a classic way to measure that stickiness. So what happened?
Well, the sexual arousal prime did make people slower to look away from attractive opposite-sex faces. But, and here's the key part, this effect was really driven by the participants who scored higher on that unrestricted SOI scale.
Interesting. So it wasn't just arousal, look at attractive people. It was arousal plus being open to casual encounters. Attention sticks to attractive potential mates.
Exactly, very target specific. It didn't happen for average faces or same-sex faces.
And they checked, I assume, that the prime actually worked. People felt more aroused.
Yep, manipulation checks confirmed that. And they also ruled out that it was just, feeling good generally or being more alert overall. It seemed really tied to that specific mating motivation interacting with their sociosexual style.
Okay, cool. So what about study 2? Did they try a different approach?
They did. This time, instead of direct arousal, they used semantic priming. Basically, nudging the idea of mating into people's minds using words.
How?
Participants unscrambled sentences. One group got sentences with mating-related words woven in, like flirt or date. The control group got neutral sentences, then same visual cueing task.
Okay, a more cognitive prime this time. And the results?
Pretty much a direct replication. Activating mating concepts subtly through language also led to more attentional adhesion to attractive opposite-sex targets, and again, primarily among those with the unrestricted SOI.
Wow. So 2 different ways of nudging that mate search motive produce the same specific attentional bias.
Yeah.
It really strengthens the case, doesn't it?
It really does. It suggests this isn't just some fluke of one specific method. It points to a more robust link between that underlying motivation and where our visual attention gets captured, especially for certain individuals.
Okay, so we've got mate search, priming attention towards potential partners, particularly for the unrestricted folks. What about the flip side? Mate guarding.
Right. So for mate guarding, the prediction shifted. They hypothesized that if you activate that motive, the urge to protect your relationship attention should stick more to attractive members of your own sex.
Potential rival.
Exactly. The potential rival.
And the logic there is, well, similar to how we're wired to notice threats, maybe. Like an attractive same-sex person could be perceived as a threat to the relationship bond.
Yeah, that was the idea. They drew a parallel to how our attention can get snagged by, say, angry faces or snakes, things that signal potential danger. In a mate guarding context, an attractive rival could be like that danger signal.
Especially since research suggests attractiveness is valued, even in potential ectopair partners. So that attractive same-sex person really could be competition.
And just like with mate search, they factored in an individual difference here too. This time it was intrasexual vigilance.
Okay, what's that?
It's basically how much someone tends to worry about or monitor potential threats from same-sex rivals, how vigilant they are about that kind of competition.
Got it. So the prediction would be activating a mate guarding motive increases attention to attractive same-sex rivals, but especially for people high in this intrasexual vigilance.
Precisely. Because if you're already prone to worrying about rivals and then you feel jealous or protective, you should be hyper aware of those potential threats.
Right, like Kistleton and Gangestad found people feeling vulnerable to infidelity tend to engage in more mate guarding. Makes sense their attention would follow.
So experiment 3. To trigger mate guarding, they used a jealousy prime. One group imagined their partner flirting with someone else.
Ooh, okay. Potent.
Yeah. The control group imagined something frustrating but not jealousy-inducing, like failing an exam. Then, back to the visual cueing task, looking at attention to attractive and average male and female faces.
And did the jealousy prime work as predicted?
It did. Imagining the partner flirting led to increased attentional adhesion, that stickiness specifically towards attractive same-sex targets. And crucially, this effect was strongest for those participants who scored high on intersexual vigilance.
There it is again. The interaction between the situation, the jealousy prime, and the person's chronic tendency, their vigilance level.
Exactly. If you were made to feel jealous and you're someone who worries about rivals, your attention got glued to those attractive potential rivals, not average-looking people, not opposite-sex people.
Very specific again. Fascinating. Did they check the jealousy levels?
Yep. Checks showed the prime worked, increased jealousy, especially for the high vigilance group. And interestingly, it looked like the level of jealousy felt might have actually been the mechanism driving the increased attention to rivals in that high vigilance group.
So the feeling itself directs the focus. And again, I assume they ruled out general negative feelings or just being upset.
Right, they controlled for general affect and arousal. It really seems specific to the jealous guarding state interacting with that vigilance trait.
Wow. So taking it all together, these studies paint a pretty compelling picture, don't they? It seems like our fundamental mating motivations, finding a partner, keeping a partner, aren't just abstract drives. They actively shape our visual experience, literally guiding where our attention sticks.
Yeah, it's not just about who we consciously decide we like or prefer. This is happening at a much earlier, more automatic stage of processing. Our attention just adheres.
And it's functionally specific too. Mate search tunes attention to potential mates, especially if you're open to them. Mate guarding tunes attention to potential rivals, especially if you're worried about them.
It really highlights that interplay between the situation activating a motive and our own individual tendencies shaping how that motive plays out in our perception.
So maybe the next time you find yourself doing that thing, where you just can't seem to look away from someone,
Yeah.
it might be worth a quick mental check-in. What's going on beneath the surface? Is it simple attraction, or is some deeper motivational system being activated?
Yeah.
Maybe evaluating a potential partner, or maybe scanning for competition.
It definitely makes you think differently about those moments. And it leads to a bigger question, doesn't it? Given how easily our attention seems to get snagged by potential mates or rivals almost unconsciously, how might that subtle automatic bias be shaping our actual relationship choices or influencing the dynamics in the partnerships we already have? Is our focus always helping us, or could it sometimes be, well, hindering our long-term happiness without us even realizing it?
That's a really powerful thought to leave people with. How much are these evolved attentional mechanisms quietly steering the ship of our social lives? Definitely something fascinating to ponder.